All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, good evening, and welcome to our training entitled Is Your Business Structured to Succeed? My name is Jimmy McMichael, and on behalf of HeadCo, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's training. If this is your first training, you're in for a treat with us. If you've been a regular attendant in our trainings, you'll know that they're normally in webinar format. However, tonight we're in a special mode. We're going to be in meeting mode tonight where you can actually see and hear each other. And that was at the request of our trainer here tonight. And so he wants things to be a little bit more interactive to give you an opportunity to talk to him, and he can talk to you and ask your questions in a little bit of a different format. But with that being said, I want to set some ground rules as we proceed here tonight. As you enter the room, you are in mute mode, and we're going to ask that you keep your settings on mute unless you have a question that you need to ask. So what we're going to ask as well is that if you have questions as the presenter's presenting, you feel free to use the chat functionality of this meeting and put whatever questions you have in there. We'll get to them as soon as possible. There may be times where our presenter asks for questions, and then feel free to speak at that moment. There's also the raise your hand functionality in your control, so feel free to do that as well. So with that being said, it is time for me now to introduce the man of the hour.
Don't do it.
And tonight I'm proud to introduce Amazon executive, Mr. Vaughn Mitchell, our trainer for the evening. He's a person who is literally on the road to greatness in the corporate world. And I say that because whenever I speak to him, I always ask, in what corner of the world are you tucked away? Because he is literally always on the road. Vaughn's been a corporate person for over 20 years. He started out his career on Wall Street at JP Morgan before working for American Express, then Deloitte, Ernst & Young, and a few other companies outside the United States. At his previous stop before Amazon, Vaughn was the U.S. Operational Compliance Manager for GlaxoSmithKline. Vaughn joined Amazon about 4.5 years ago. He started his career in finance with Amazon in 2016, and then went on to Prime Video and Amazon Studios, where he led global programs in 10 different countries. He was tapped to help open Amazon's second headquarters in the Washington, D.C. area, where he now works and resides. Vaughn is currently Amazon's lead diversity and inclusion program manager, where his focus is on creating programs and partnerships that will enable Amazon to build diverse teams successfully over the next 10 years. So Vaughn has a bachelor's degree in international business from Howard University in Washington, D.C., and a global master's of business administration degree from Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. So ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to present to you all tonight a wonderful gentleman and your trainer for the evening, Mr. Vaughn Mitchell. Vaughn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, man. I want to meet myself. Hearing that introduction, I was like, who is this person? If you all can't tell, first of all, it's a pleasure to meet you all tonight. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to even have a chance to speak. So as mentioned, I'm currently the lead diversity person at Amazon on our HQ2 side of the fence, or HQ2 means headquarters 2.
Vaughn, you just muted.
Oh, sorry about that.
There you go, you're back.
Okay, perfect. I work with leadership to kind of create different alternative pipelines so that we can, if I can be honest, get people of color into different positions throughout the company that they may or may not have had opportunities to before. I also work with the universities in the area as well to try to work with students and try to make sure we create pipelines and opportunities in the STEM field. And last but not least, I also build relationships here in the community, like with U.S. Congress and Chamber of Commerce and so forth. So I'm actually glad to be here because I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia, and I'm back in D.C. So I'm glad to be here tonight for the 5th time of me saying that. If you cannot tell, I am laid back and it is 6:30. So that's why I asked for a relaxed environment. So if you have questions, we'll kind of just talk through it. But I'm going to keep going through the presentation as we see fit. All right. So as we continue, I'm going to be honest. That's our code word for the night to move forward. So if I keep saying that, just know that we're moving forward to the next slide. What I wanted to discuss tonight a little bit was talking through a little bit about Amazon as a baseline. Now, I know this is a major company and everyone's pretty much aware of them, but I want to kind of help you all understand a little bit about our mission, our culture, and then kind of move into what we're going to talk tonight about is the Amazon Flywheel, which is literally something that was Jeff drew on the back of a napkin, I don't know, 17 years ago, 18 years ago in one of our meetings. And I think from that, it's kind of helped drive the model that we're going to go through tonight. But first, let's kind of talk through who we are as a company. Next slide. So this is a picture of Jeff. And what I think I want to kind of mention here, because I don't know all the businesses that are on tonight, and I would love to get to know that after the fact. Jeff has made sure that our mission is to be Earth's most customer-centric company. That is a powerful 3 words if you break it down. And for us, we kind of look at it from 2 angles. We look at it from, it's very broad because that means we can actually go into any field that we think the customer may need support or desires us to go into. So it's a big word. And I don't think it limits us to geography. It doesn't limit us to a certain technology. It doesn't limit us to industry. It just allows us to go where the customer needs something. But at the same time, I think that those three words are very specific. What I've noticed as working in the company for the last couple of years, anytime we have new ideas or we're talking through some items, if we get into heated discussions, and trust me, we do, if the real question just always falls back to what does the customer need? And when you simplify it like that, it calms the egos in the room. It calms all the folks who think they have great ideas, and we go back to what's the key focus of our business. What does the customer need? And when you do that, it kind of brings everyone back to the same page. And then we go back to the board and say, okay, well, they don't need this or they need this, but at least it allows us to focus when we are in those deep discussions. As we continue. So the next slide, I didn't want to give you a lot of different slides. I just found this slide internally, and I thought it was kind of a good way to kind of sum up our history without going through 20-something years of pages and everything we've done. This one slide, as you kind of look at our business, kind of gives you a breakout of some of our key milestones as a business. And that's always important because those are the things you'll see in the newspapers and on TV and so forth. And things that we track ourselves internally to make sure that we're meeting our internal goals. But it also shows you that we have several products that we launched ourselves and that we also acquired a lot of different businesses. I think a lot of people think of Amazon as just the box that got delivered to your door. And I think what I wanted you all to show you tonight was that we're so much more. And I think in that avenue, as you look into your businesses, I think understand what's your key focus. For us is the customer piece at always. And then that allows us to think about how do we want to grow our business and what spaces can we go into with that space. So I wanted to show you that everything's not done actually by internal, because we learned that we have a lot of smart folks, we can't build everything, but sometimes you partner and work with other businesses and acquire their stuff as well. And those owners also sometimes come into the company and you'd be working with the person who actually founded Zappos right next to you at your desk, which is really cool because you learn so much continuously in that space. As we continue. And again, as I alluded to, I wanted to kind of show you every place we are. I mean, this is the list that I have for now, but I mean, there's more stuff that I could have added. But when I talk about the customer again, I think about, as you can see, the diversity here. You can see that we're in fresh with food, we're in music, we're in the Prime Pantry, we're in Amazon Go. I don't know, my mentee is actually, she went to Howard and she's leading Amazon Go, which is really exciting to see. She came from Target. And Amazon Go is like a 7-Eleven, but you don't have to pay. I mean, you pay with your phone. For those cities that don't have it, for those who don't know. And we're in so many of those places like solar farms and wind farms. I actually had a chance to go out when I lived in Seattle, out to the far part of the country, far part of the state, and see our wind farms. I'm like, I didn't know we were doing this stuff. So just kind of show you, as you build your plan, and we'll talk about this further, you never know where your business can grow, but don't put the limits on yourself up front. Allow yourself to kind of think through stuff, and you'll be amazed at how many areas you can enter into if that's your strategy. Next, please. Thank you. Customer obsession. So I don't know how many people have had a chance to kind of look up Amazon's. We have 14 leadership principles. And as you can see, out of these leadership principles, customer obsession is sitting right in the middle. I look at, as you look at your businesses, I'm curious as to what some of your guiding principles are as well. So we can probably touch base on that when it's time to open up for questions. But for us, no matter what we do, we actually live by this. You can be in a meeting, and I promise you, folks are asking questions like from this perspective of how does it impact the customer? Are you delivering results with this? How quickly are you delivering results? You can sit in a meeting, I know my level, but there's many people above me, and I sometimes disagree with them. Sometimes, well, yeah, I do actually. And I think with that, one of the statements here is have backbone, disagree, and commit. So honest, because we don't need somebody just to repeat yes all the time. We need you to understand your information, learn the data, understand the customer needs. And if you hear something incorrect, whether it be Jeff, and Jeff loves a debate. If it's him or anyone else in the company, make sure you know your stuff, but feel free to speak up and say, I disagree, and this is why. Some of these look, I'll be honest, when I first started, I was like, I don't understand some of these things. But what I've learned in time is that they work in parallel, and sometimes they also look like they're in contention with each other. So for example, one of the examples here is showing learn and be curious. My manager, for example, loves to dive deep and read and understand every little detail about everything. That's great. But at the same time, you see bias for action, which means we got to make a decision and move. So if we don't have all the answers, that's fine. But if you have enough of the decision points to make something feel comfortable to move forward, you move forward. You rather fail, let's say fail fast first, than spend a lot of time on something and then realize I just wasted a whole year. When you can figure out and test out an example in 3 months or 2 weeks to figure out, is this even the right direction to go? So I love the concept of these leadership principles because they're always in use, no matter where we are in the business. Okay, so innovation. I'm smiling inside because someone asked me this the other day. They said, a student said, I want to work for your innovation department. And I was like, well, the company is innovation. It's built into every part of the company. So there's no one place or department you can sit and create all this stuff for Amazon. Everyone does this every day. And that's, again, driving because we are trying to understand what the customer is. We're always looking to figure out how. I'm looking at I see a question coming through. I'm gonna balance this, finishes out, and I'm gonna answer the question. We're always trying to figure out how to make sure that we are giving the best for the customer. How do I think about innovation though? I'm smiling because I think when I first started, I had a new idea. When I started with Amazon, again, I'm gonna be real regular tonight. When I started with Amazon, I was put on this one department where I was managing the data center equipment that was coming and selling it to different countries. But I was noticing there was an issue in the process because I kept getting stuff that wasn't mine, and I kept getting piles of data, piles of equipment, and I couldn't move it quickly. Well, I went to a drawing board. Promise you I did this. We have so many boards around the office. I got up, went to a whiteboard, and I drew out my process flow. So, okay, this thing comes from this person to this person to me. And then I started figuring out where the issues are in the process and figuring out who was causing the issue because everything was ended up on my plate. And then what I also did was say, okay, if I had to remove the issues, I'll take this part out, take this part out, and take this other part out, and it should flow smoothly. And then I called people over to the board, and literally in 10 minutes, we were sitting there drawing on the board in different colors and designed a whole new process flow. Amazon's very that. You'll see so much on the board. And I actually took that information, I wrote a one-page paper, went to my manager and said, I think we can solve it this way. And he said, do it. I was like, fine, fail fast first. Literally changed that business around in a year. We went from making, I think, $50,000 or something to the next year we made $26 million. And it was all because the environment just allows you to think freely. And again, I challenge you to think about your own businesses as well. Sometimes people feel like, oh, I got to go through the hierarchy, or it has to stop with the leader. No, it really doesn't. I think in my mind, from what I've learned, sometimes the best ideas in our organization come from folks who have no experience and or are just thinking differently from a different angle. And we are a company where we allow, you could be a low level is not the right term, forgive me for that, but a new hire sitting in a meeting with a Jeff or a vice president. And I promise you, they're going to ask the lowest ranking person in the room, what's your thoughts? Because you're bringing a different perspective to the table that we may have missed. And so I kind of look at that all the time when I think about Amazon and innovation. We start with the customer and we allow everyone to ask questions. And if you have a process that you think is working, trust me, someone's going to put it on the board and tear it apart and try to make it better. It's just the nature of how we operate. So don't take it personal. Just know that someone else is going to come along and try to improve it. Jimmy, I'm going to try to answer this question as I see it here. I'm using my technology.
Sure.
Can you share how each of these leadership principles are built into each person's performance job description and how is it measured? Good question. So for us, we actually have we have a couple of different meetings a year. You have a 360 feedback period where you actually reach out to different people you work with throughout the year and ask them to provide feedback. We also have our formal process, which is actually used when it's time for promotions and review and their salary increases. For us, you answer questions by using the leadership principles. So people will ask you, what is Vaughn's 3 greatest strengths? And someone say, like in that project I just talked to you about from AWS, they said Vaughn thinks big because I went to a bulletin board and thought about the whole process from end. I didn't think about what I just owned. I thought about, okay, who owns everything that gives me the the stuff that ends in my lap? I want to know the whole process. I don't want to walk around and say, I'm just responsible for this and that's all I'm gonna do, I'm going home. And I think in that mindset, I got credit for thinking big. I got credit for invent and simplify because I took a whole process and I made it smaller. I took out the unnecessary stuff. And in that case, the unnecessary stuff was people who just wanted to be involved in the process because they wanted to check themselves off the list and say, I had some control over data. To me, not important. The question I asked them is, what do you need from this data? And maybe, for example, instead of giving each of you an individual report every day on what moves through the process, I'll give you a month-end report and summarize all your data for you and give it to you. If I do that, are you comfortable being removed from the process and just wait till the end of the month? And many people are like, yeah. So in that case here, for an example, that's when I did invent and simplify. And those are 2 examples I can kind of leverage. Did I answer that question? I would say give me a +1 or not. I think that's Sandra. Okay. All right, we're gonna move forward. You're gonna hear the rain in the background because I have the windows open, fresh air and thunderstorm. So next we have Jimmy. Thank you. So this gets us into, I'm multitasking with 2 screens operating. This gets us into the meat of our conversation tonight. I think we've kind of discussed the culture. We kind of understand what guides our culture. And again, how we challenge and work with each other in that culture. And also how we, in this case here, do performance and make sure that people are being measured and held accountable to it and being audited up if they're not or not. But as I go to the core of what we do, it really is simple. It goes back to this flywheel. It's called the virtuous circle is what we kind of call it inside. But people also use the slang term flywheel. Give me 1 second, 2 seconds. Thank you. So for those who, I don't know how you set up your business, but for us, at the end of the day, I think everyone kind of feeds into this flywheel in a way. We kind of think about it in different angles. So for those who, I don't know if everyone knows what a flywheel is. Let me start with the definition of a flywheel. A flywheel is actually a heavy revolving wheel that is used in a machine to increase momentum and therefore provide greater stability to the machine. Given its weight, the flywheel is difficult to push from a standstill, but once it starts moving, it gradually builds momentum and eventually enables the wheel to turn by itself and create more and more momentum through self-reinforcing loop. At the end of the day, this thing feeds itself if you set it up correctly. And as you think about your businesses, I challenge you to kind of say, what is your flywheel? What cycles or what things need to occur continuously in order to make it go on its own? When I think about Amazon, it's easy to kind of say our flywheel has 3 sections here. But as you can see, the first thing we have in here, we have customer-centric is our core. So when Jeff sat there, and I honestly say he drew it on a sheet of paper, I think they kept it he's in his office now, a little piece of napkin, he's sitting in a meeting, he said, what makes your business? And he said, the business falls into 3 areas. If we price things correctly, just start with the basic. Customers are always gonna want a couple of different things. Customers are always gonna want a low price. Customers are always gonna want, in this case, selection. They want options. And customer wants availability. They wanna know that it's gonna get to me and be prepared and safe and all that good spiel. And so he literally wrote those 3 things. And those are 3 flywheels that are individual, but they come together. And you can kind of see this here. And I'll break each of those out into more in 2 seconds. I think about, again, we call this the flywheel effect. As you break about this, and I'm gonna talk about this on the next slide. I'm gonna say, hey Jay, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. The flywheel effect in this case it's something that we believe if you set it up early, it'll be true for the next 10 years. And if you set up your flywheel for today, it'll be true for the next 10 years, depending on what your inputs are. And I said it from the sense that go back to customer service. I mean, being customer obsessed. We said, what does the customer always want? And as we think about it, we realize the customer's always going to want those three things: low price, availability to get it, and a wide option. And we realize in that case, if we put that order in place, it will feed itself. What does that mean? So we work with, I'm not going to go into each of our individual flywheels, but I will talk high level. As we talk about price, for example, lower prices leads us to get more customers to visit our site. That's growth. That's more traffic coming to us. I don't think customers 10 years from now are gonna be like, can you raise the price on us, even though we like the selection? We kind of think that price is always gonna be a fundamental part of our business. So we need to make sure that we always get the lowest price. And that's negotiating with the vendors and all that good spiel. But having more folks come to our site then says we attract volume and sales, and we attract more commission-paying third-party sellers who actually want to be a part of that volume. So what does that do? Lower the prices means we get more folks coming. We work with the vendors and say, hey, we got more people coming. Forgive the thunder. More people coming. Now can we get more selection or more of your product? And what that happens is it opens a whole nother door of conversation of how do we start getting into the efficiencies of the business? If we get more of your product, how do we make sure that we lower, because of efficiency and need on our side, how do we help you become more efficient in your business? And therefore, let's be honest, we're paying you lower, because then all of a sudden you become more efficient in your process and you don't have to charge us more for the product. That then comes into the availability side of the fence, because then it kind of says, hey, the greater the efficiency is, the more I get to reinvest in our business, and then therefore get to do growth and kind of do more additional things that I haven't done before. And long as the selection is fine, like we give the options of 1 day, 2 day, whatever, a lot of that has come from, so we have someone that cannot hear. Is the system working for everybody?
That might be on their end. All the audio levels on my side they should be able to hear.
Okay. I just wanted to be fair for everyone, make sure. Just in case, I want to bring that up.
Is there anyone else having audio difficulties?
Okay.
If you're unable to hear and it continues, feel free to log out and log back in. Sometimes that happens, and when you log out and log back in, you're able to reconnect and hear fine. So give that a try if you can't adjust the sound, if it's not a volume thing on your computer.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna keep going if that's okay. And I want to be respectful of time. And it's ping 101. Okay. So back to what I was saying. The more customers increase the volume, the lower the prices led to more customer visits, more customers increase the volume of sales, and then more commission paying third party sellers to the site. And that allowed us to actually get more out of our fixed costs. Like, let's believe this. Amazon, we have fulfillment centers, we have servers, all of that runs, all that fixed cost is costing us money. The question is, how do you maximize that? And so therefore the question is, if we do better on the front end with our retail side, do better with our efficiency in our process, we get more efficiency out of the buildings and the other fixed costs we have. Let me use this as an example as well. The same process I just talked about earlier about me reinventing our process flow of how we sold our equipment that was coming down the pipeline. I have to be careful how much I say, because I want to make sure I don't say any proprietary stuff. Let's just say it this way. The quicker we got equipment out of our warehouses when I was selling them, the quicker we could replace them with newer equipment versus putting them in a storage center and waiting till something happened, or even more, versus building a whole nother warehouse. If you take the math and kind of figure out, I need umpteen servers, 1,000 servers in a warehouse for data. If I'm moving the equipment quicker out of the process, That means I'm getting stuff replacing better, quicker into the process, which means I'm not having to store it anywhere, or I'm not even having to build any new buildings. And I think that was part of the flywheel as well. On average, my equipment was being sold at 100 days because of the old long process. And then I think as we reinvented it, the equipment was being sold between 3 and 7 days internationally. So I went from 100 days to 3 to 7 days. That's such a vast turn in getting equipment into the new equipment into the buildings that Amazon didn't need to build in that particular year as many warehouses per se. I'm just throwing that as an example that we normally would have built because we're moving faster in our equipment, how we're moving stuff through the pipeline. And I think that's how I want you to think of your business. Where are the opportunities for you to kind of increase efficiency and make sure that you're expanding and maximizing your fixed costs so that you are not sitting there with something that could actually be, it could actually add value versus continuing to be a long-term liability for you. Good afternoon. The fly effect work if Jeff is an African American? I think you're crossing into different territories. I think I'm focusing on the business in the model that we're leveraging. I think but if we're going to talk real, and we may turn the volume on for conversation, I mean, there are African American businesses that are running on their own flywheel. It depends on what their core service is in the model. I think what I want to get across here is whatever your business is, think about what your center of the core, like no matter what's going to happen, what's your core part of the business? And then what needs to support that in order to keep it going? Understand that if you choose some things that may not be a real core for your business, and I'm going to get to a slide, I think I have it further down. Like some people choose their competition as their model to build themselves off of. Things change. So think about this as a flywheel. If it's going and going and going and everything's feeding each other and yours is a competition as the core, the moment the competition changes their strategy, then also you want to change your strategy. Well, your flywheel just stopped. And all the momentum that had behind the flywheel, for lack of a better word, stopped because now you have to reinvest and look at your strategy again. So pick your core to make sure there's something that can survive through the good and bad, and it will work. And don't be afraid to have continuous improvement on your flywheel, because we look at price, we look at selection, we look at availability continuously. How do we make it better? It's not done because you think it's done and it's working line. There's a different perspective, so keep looking at that thing from different angles. I also think like some companies that use technology as their core. Like I know we're a tech company, but technology is not that's what we do and we do it well, but I look at it from a sense of technology changes continuously. So would I make technology the core of my business? Depending, probably. I probably would not, but that's just also another thought process in my mind. Because again, technology is always changing. So is there a flywheel that you're building around the technology that's going to keep going? Or as soon as it changes, you need to stop and rethink your strategy again because it's impacting what your bottom line is or your revenue or your customer base. We'll get into business models in a minute, but I think in my mind, I kind of think through, challenge yourself to think through your flywheel, whatever that may be. Okay, I see another. Okay, she says she's in here now. Okay, cool. Oh, you just jumped to that for me. Thank you. Thank you. And there's a light. Yeah, I apologize for that. All right. So we're on this slide now. Okay. So I kind of go back. Well, I think I just kind of walked through this high level. So I'm gonna move forward to the next one. All right. So applying the flywheel to your business. For us, again, our model is be customer centric. We are always thinking customer first. And let's be honest, I mean, it's not easy because you sometimes don't even know what the customer needs, but you're thinking ahead. I mean, who would have thought, and I need to keep talking, but who would have thought that you would have the cylinder on your kitchen counter in the bedroom or wherever it has it now, that you can talk to and ask for something? I mean, I didn't think about Alexa. It wasn't even on one of my project lists. So the fact that you're thinking ahead of what does the customer need or what would you want the customer to experience or to have will always challenge you to think out of your comfort zone and just be open to think forward and say, okay, what else can we do with this space and maximize and then fix that and then move on to the next thing. So, that leads to my next point. Don't be afraid to experiment. Amazon Amazon is always experimenting. My role now, if I can be honest, is an experiment in the D&I space. I mean, I came here and I thought about, I'm saying I have to be careful what I say, but I'm being realistic. I think I looked at the opportunity and said, oh, we're coming to DC. I'm originally from Virginia, East Coast a lot. And I'm like, yeah, DC's campus cannot look like Seattle. It won't work. And I said that jokingly to somebody in one of the meetings. I said, it's not going to work. DC going to call you out. So you need to make sure that your campus mirrors the city that it's in. You want to hire the people that are in that space, that look like the space and understand the area. And then lo and behold, 2 weeks later, I got a phone call said, instead of complaining about it, do you want to go do it? Now, mind you, I have never been in HR, and I'm not the typical HR person. But the fact that Amazon says go experiment and figure it out, and I've been fortunate, going to Howard and stuff, knowing a lot of people in the area with frat and stuff. I'm figuring it out as we go, but we're getting some wins because we're bringing in communities and doing partnerships with different organizations that Amazon never thought about. And not because they didn't want to, they just didn't know. And I think that about our whole company as a whole. We experiment a lot of times, and sometimes, like I said, fail fast first. We'll give you a chance to go practice, go figure it out, make it better, and come back. And if it doesn't work, we'll go again. So that is when you think about your company, I challenge you to think through, how do you allow yourself to just try new things? I would talk about, I have another business as well, but I don't want to bring that into it, but I can relate from a small business perspective, how I've had to challenge myself and rethink my brand a few times. And now I'll be honest, I'm actually looking at the Flywheel and trying to challenge myself. How do I create a flywheel with my own personal business? So in this case here, it says monitor your catalog. In this case, we talked about catalog, in this case being selection. So whatever your product is or your service, make sure you continually monitor that to see, understand what your competition and so forth is doing. But in this case here, make sure you have enough and have a wide variety where folks will want to be a part of it. For us as well, we said search engines. So this is going to get into some of the technical stuff, and I'll be limiting on what I'm going to say here. But when we talk about selection and availability, how do you do prime in one day? Well, that was a lot of data. And that was understanding how quickly do we place, for example, our warehouses to our customer base. And do we want a warehouse within 30 miles of our customers, which will allow us to get stuff there within 1 to 2 days because we have the inventory in storage because of huge selection. And then we have proximity, availability to the customer. So we can promise speed in certain areas. And if we can't do speed on everything, we only do speed on the items that are in that warehouse because we know that we can kind of move that and they're going to be replaced. So as you think about your strategy as well, make sure, again, this kind of goes back to the flywheel, making sure that there's a huge selection for our customers in that area. We understand what they want because they buy certain products. We make sure we keep that in the warehouses, and we have set up multiple avenues to get them the product, whether it be 1 day, 2 days, prime now, same day, in 2 hours. So we're strategic as we think through each of these avenues of delivery. And we don't, even though the cost factor may be a concern initially, we kind of understand that the flywheel is working. So we're getting more customers. We're able to decrease some of our fixed costs and make new experiments happen that other people were afraid to tie out. I'm not going to sit here and say that this whole model flywheel thing too was an Amazon design thing. I mean, it works, but let's be blunt. Walmart was doing this before we were. So give credit where credit is due. We just improved upon the model. So yeah, I just have to be honest in that case. Okay, we're good on this one. So I want to take a break for 2 seconds because I said here, what I have coming up next is talking through some examples of showing how the flywheel works in different parts of the business as you allow yourself to experiment and to grow. But I want to take a pause if I can and just see if there are any questions, or do I need to go back on anything that we've already covered to clarify? I want to be fair in that space. And then I can move forward to examples. So I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about. So when we go into the examples next, it kind of clicks like, oh, this falls into selection, or oh, this falls into price or availability. And it could work or it cannot work based upon certain factors. Are we able to open up for a minute? Or read or get some questions in the chat? Make sure I'm not missing anyone. I don't want to leave anybody behind.
Absolutely. So if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, and we'll we'll kind of monitor how it goes. If we get a log jam, we'll go back to submitting your questions. But at this point, sometimes it works well. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one.
What does catalog mean? So catalog, in this example from earlier, we're saying the flywheel is made up of 3 pieces, more than that, but there's really 3 core ones. For us, catalog falls on the selection. So for me, I'm thinking about all the different products we have on our website. In this case for you, your catalog could be all your products that you're offering or all the services you're offering. Just make sure you stay abreast of them and monitor them and adjust them as needed. I mean, we have some products on our web. We have people designed who are hired to watch the products on our website and that we own and those that are coming from third-party vendors to make sure that at any point, nothing impacts or affects the customer. I'm sharing true information, but it's not hidden. During this whole moment that we're in right now, you know, we've had some customers who want to sell products that are all about Juneteenth and all these other initiatives. But we had some other folks, if I can be fair, and I'm a little bit upset about it, but I'll deal with it, who have put some other products out there because they have already come to a trusted website and will have worked with us. But they're third-party sellers who are selling other things that are not so nice. So we have a team that looks at our catalog all the time to make sure that we pull stuff that's going to impact our customer, impact our reputation, or impact anything in that bigger nature. And in several cases, we pulled some things in the last few weeks that I don't know how it made it through, but we pulled it because we're monitoring our catalog. We're not just trusting that our third-party vendors are putting always the best product out there on our behalf. We have to check them. And some people have lost their contracts based upon some of the stuff they've pushed out that is not appropriate over the last few weeks at least. Does that answer your question for catalog? Thank you. Let's talk, people. Anything else?
Any questions, anyone? Feel free to ask.
If not, we can keep going too, and I'll open up the floor again. I just wanted to make sure some of that baseline stuff was understood. Okay. All right. Yep. So as we're going to go into the next few slides, again, keep in mind, and I kept a copy of the flywheel here just for a moment. Keep in mind, I talk about the flywheel being stuff that's just going to be continuously growing, whether it's today or 10 years from now, because the model is based on the customer for us. So if I said that from an angle, and keep in mind you have price and the impact of having lower prices and how that grows. You have selection, in this case, your catalog or whatever, you have your selection of products and inventory and how that grows, whether it be stuff that we own, stuff that we make, because we have our own line of making stuff as well, or stuff that we acquired through third-party vendors. So our selection of options are always there. And we have availability, which means no matter what it's going to be, it's going to get to the customer in some form or fashion. I challenge you to say, can you grow your business as well? And think about, as you think about this, and we go to the next examples, I'm curious, I'm going to ask them yes, no, and I think I put the answer at the bottom of the slide, my craziness, my bad. But I'm going to ask your opinion because I want to be interactive here. So let's go to the first one. As we talk about our business, hold on a second, my slide didn't change. Okay, here it is. I'm going to ask the question. So is this option, for example, realistic, a high probability that we could do this as a company? And when I think of this is what it's saying. Organized by platform and market in a matrix. What does that mean? What does that mean? That means that we have designed, we were in HQ in Seattle, but what we've created also, as we've gotten Seattle underway, we're starting to create a hub and spoke process. So if you think about, for those who may not know hub and spoke, or you think about your bike wheel, and the bike you have your center, and then you have your process where you have the spokes going out all around. So in that case here, we've looked at our company, and I kind of say, you can kind of already see the answer, but it's already saying, when we think about the flywheel, we think about, in this space, is it possible for us to kind of evolve over hub and spoke? And my answer is yes in this case here, because we think about, we have Seattle, we have now Washington, D.C., we have India, we have Japan, we have Singapore. We have grown in multiple countries using the same flywheel. Because if you go back to the customer service perspective, at the end of the day, no matter where you are, the customer's always going to want a lower price. And if you build the efficiency, and they always going to want selection, and they want to be able to get it. So that model of hub and spoke allows us to continue to grow in multiple locations. It allows us to think about where we put our warehouses so that we can get stuff to our customers in a faster place. It allows us to work with our vendors who want to sign up, and allows us to kind of negotiate and or help them build better businesses and more efficient models. So when you think about your area, again, is your area one that can grow? I mean, I don't know the answer, but I'm thinking based upon how you set it up with your flywheel, is it one that can grow internationally or grow as big as you want it to be based upon that the model is always turning? Regarding the flywheel, does it only grow or would there also be intersecting flywheels? Good question. I believe we have multiple flywheels. So granted, the 3 is the core that I'm talking to today. But based upon where you're growing your business, sometimes you may have, as you've seen this in other circles, you may have some of the other flywheel crossover. Just make sure that it fits still within your model and that you're not trying to do something completely different than, as long as if it's the core, let me get to the core. As long as if it's the core of your business, I think it can continue to grow. Just make sure you understand what the core of your business is. I see it. Okay, is that okay? I just see RH. I didn't get a name there. Okay. If you have another question or if I didn't clear that up, feel free to ping. Thank you, Renee. All right, next one. This is an interesting one. Amazon creates a global supply network that rivals incumbents to improve fulfillment. Well, I think you already kind of see this one. Again, flywheel. This falls under, I'm just going to ask the question, what are the 3 pieces? Which one does this fall over? Because someone just type the answer out of price, availability, and selection. Which one does this fall under first? Okay, got you. Thank you. Thank you. So that's correct. In my mind, as we talk about our flywheel, and I mentioned this earlier, we think about where our things are located and how fast the customer may want it. So we are very strategic in our relationships, whether it be through FedEx and UPS, whether it be through our own internal logistics. Like the person who hired me 4 years ago actually handles our Amazon Flex team, which is part of the last mile. So that's picking up smaller products in local areas and dropping them off quickly. Whether it be through Amazon Prime, because we don't own our planes, but we have I think we have about 40 planes now, because we realize we can lease them and do the work and still get our products to our customers quicker. And again, we have so many different ways to deliver the product to you in the end, whether it be through UPS or DHL or FedEx or our own drivers, through your drivers, those who choose to kind of go pick the product up for us and drop it off. So when we think about availability, I can't say we were perfect in it, but we were definitely realizing we grew so fast that we had to come up with different ways in order to get product to the customers. And now we're, London, I think we just did our drones last year and they seem to be fine. I don't know when that's coming here. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, we're open to experiment different things and try things. So you're right, availability, this falls right under the flywheel. Let's try the next one. Amazon could acquire retailers with wide store networks to support fast local fulfillment. Which one of and in this case, let me explain what it is again. As we think about, I don't want to I'm going to say it, I'm going to give an answer. First of all, which one does this fall under? Price, availability, or selection? Thank you, selection, correct. Correct. We think about this and saying, how do we give the most options to our customers? Do we work with industries that already have their fulfillment, their structure set up, their storefront, and we just allow them we link over to them, or they come use not link over to them, but they link to us and we kind of put them on our front page and they still get profit and we get profit? Or do we, how do we give them multiple selections? And some of these things, I would say, this is really not all of us. Like, this is not something I say is major for us. So for example, 7-Eleven's as I look there, I just mentioned Amazon Go. So in some cities that you all may live in, or countries if you're calling from out the country, we have a store called Amazon Go where you literally walk in with your cell phone, open your Amazon account, after you download Amazon Go, scan yourself in, pick up whatever you want to buy, and then walk right on out the door. And you'll get your ticket, you'll get your receipt in less than 5 minutes on your phone as you were walking. There's a no-touch system. How did that come about? I'm digressing for 2 seconds. Because one of the number one complaints from customers is standing in line. In COVID, is standing next to people, which is interesting as we're starting to get all these details about health. But as you think about the core of what the customer issues were, we were like, people don't want to stand in line. They get tired and they complain. So how do we remove the line? And that's where Amazon Go started to be created, of saying, how do we, again, make the customer first and figure out the technology and everything around it to make sure they're satisfied. So in some of these cases here, we would partner with folks, and in some places here, we just create our own thing, because we realize the core problem, if you think about all these three things, is the line is still going to be consistent, and the customer's already admitted that's not their favorite thing. So how do you remove the bottleneck from the process and work around the resources you have to make something better for the customer? Can you give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you get that one? I'm hoping that concept people got, because again, the bottleneck was still the people standing in line. Selection here is too. We get to have more selection of those things. Okay, cool. What's the next one? Amazon leaves same-day delivery as the new normal. Well, we know that answer. So again, I'm doing this as a game, but in my way, I'm trying to make sure that these three avenues stick in your mind as they work for us. Think about things as they work for you and how you grow your business. How is it true? I mean, when we think about this, what does this fall under? Is this price, availability, selection? I hear price. Okay, so I'm getting multiple answers here. I'm getting price, I'm getting availability. I'm going to lean toward the availability piece. And correct me if I need to double check my notes on this one, but I'm just double checking again. Same day delivery, right, is availability. Again, it's thinking through how do we make sure we get through things. They show an example here of the fulfillment center. I've only been in one. I think I went in one in Atlanta. Huge, like huge. I don't know how that happens, but huge. And the technology and the robotics that they're using, along with people to move stuff quickly to get to things out the door. Same thing with the hour fulfillment. I was nervous when they mentioned we were going to do stuff in an hour. But again, does your flywheel allow that model to happen? And if so, can you get efficiencies out of that? That 1 hour thing, it continued to grow our business. Because it met the needs. If I think about our markets, you hit the needs of millennials, you hit the needs of multiple groups who are saying, yeah, I want it now, the microwave generation. And so being able to do it in an hour definitely works well. And again, I talked about we've tested out some drones in other countries, not here, but well, we did here, but mostly in London and some other places. All right, next one. India will become Amazon's second largest market. Is that likely to happen? And does that fall under price, availability, selection? It can be multiple. It can be definitely multiple. And this kind of goes back to that first one where we talk about the spoke. The model works because the flywheel is the flywheel. I want to be respectful. I says, make sure you consider cultures and other factors as you're looking at as you look at your customer, which is the core of the model. But the model still works. At least in this case, it's proven to be true for the company. So now we have expanded to India. I think one of our biggest buildings in our network is actually in India. I have to double check my notes, but I believe they just opened last year, and we're expected to grow at the same model. We've set the same pace over there. We have some other factors we're working through, but we've set up the infrastructure to allow us to grow at the same pace in India. All right, thank you. Amazon will disrupt payments and make experience obsolete with zero-click. Price, availability, selection. I feel some quiet nature. This one's a little, I'm gonna move forward with it, but it's a little interesting. I mean, I think as you talk about options of people being able to make payments, granted, we're changing some of the space, but we're not fully high priority, like not knocking it all out the box. I think we're experimenting with new things here. But again, this kind of comes down into price factor in my mind, price and price a little bit, because at the end of the day, we're always looking at the lowest price. If you notice hopefully you all shop on Amazon, but if you notice our website, anytime the price changes or we've worked out a better deal, we update it immediately. And I think that allows us the chance to make sure that we get the best price at that moment to the customer. And you're notified as well if there's a change in price, so that you can make a decision whether you want to keep moving forward with that product or not. So I just saw something pop up. Decentralizing and empowering local professionals in development of these hubs must have a lot to do with the success. That's a strong, let me sit on this one for 2 seconds. I have to wear my PR hat for a moment to make sure I don't say anything crazy. I think we do, decentralizing is a strong term, but I think as I think through how we set up, we actually have several groups. One of my good friends is leading on the initiatives now, where we actually go into the communities and we have initiatives where we work with the local community to make sure that we are either partnering, they're tied in some form or fashion, to make sure that we're helping out, we're not taking apart or killing the mom and pops, if that makes sense. So there is a team, like for example, one of my friends, she's from, she went to Spelman and she's here in Virginia. She just relocated back here. She leads a group and she goes out into the community and works with the local communities, whether it be with schools, whether it be with the politics, or whatever the case may be, to kind of understand what are the local needs and kind of figure out how do we help leverage what we have from growing and improving our businesses, and give that to the community, or work through the community, make sure that we're not just coming in by ourselves and thinking about ourselves, but we're, how do my manager says it? He says all boats rise. Haven't heard that before, but he says he wants to make, the whole thought process is how do we make sure everyone is actually successful in the nature of the community, that once we enter, or even in this case, I said before we enter. I think what's interesting, I'm pausing because I'm processing as I think about these different hubs. What I like to say about us as well is that we work with the local communities, but we are cognizant when we go to India versus China versus, well, we're not in China, that's Alibaba. But when you go to different countries, we're cognizant of how our impact is, and we want to make sure I want to be honest with you, we want to make sure that we're not putting things out of context, and we're bringing folks in and make sure we're all doing well together. That has been a big initiative for us as we've grown so quickly. All right.
Well, I think we were seeking an answer for this one here.
Where are you now?
On the
on the screen. Yeah. Number 6, price for me. Did you get that one?
All right. Great.
Yeah, because again, we're in the place now where we want to make sure we understand payment methods. Payment, you ain't gonna pay if you don't like the price, if you're not gonna buy it. So price is a part factor for this one, but I also look at how we look at efficiency. We understand the different avenues that people want to pay. And we make sure that they are available so that we don't miss out on the opportunity. So we use our technology. We try to create different avenues, whether it be through the fast track program that you all may have access to, or the one-click button that some people have actually, I haven't tried that one yet, where you get the supply resent to your house over a period because you subscribe to the service. So in my mind, this is kind of leaning toward the price piece of the fence. Again, it allows you to look at different technologies and experiment with different things as you think through, how am I gonna get paid? And how does the customer want to, do they like the avenue? The technology, sorry. Thank you. Disrupt financial services by offering Prime members simpler, cheaper life admin services. Okay. Price, selection, availability. Which one? I hear price. But do you see the variance? Okay, any other? I'm gonna be cool for a second. Could it be anything else as well? All right. I kind of give you both of those actually. I was leaning toward selection too, initially, because at the end of the day, my thought is we are entering into these spaces actually. Again, the circle, the flywheel is still the flywheel. I don't know how many are aware that we have entered into the healthcare space because we have a process with pill packs, which is a new, we set up a whole new division with that piece where we are working through sending out, I don't know who's a member now, but your medication can actually be delivered to your house already divided up into the packs based upon what your doctor is saying you need in your prescription. And all you need to do is take out your pack for the day and then take your medication. So there's a team that does that. Home and content insurance, I haven't got, I can't speak on the insurance piece, I'll be honest. But I do know we get into the home because we have selection. We even have interior design people internally that will look at the products we sell on our site and create pictures of what a room could look like. And then you can walk and click on that and it'll take you to where you can buy it on the retail site. So it's using technology, the concept of the home and design, and then using the product that we already have to create and let you know how the various things that we offer can be a part of your selection. So retail is a financial services. So that's all the pricing and stuff. So, all right, I'm at 7. Can I get a thumbs up, or are we thinking about, because I'm gonna go back to you in your business in a minute. I just want you, again, as you think about your business, what is your flywheel? What is the center of your flywheel? In this case, customer service. And what are the pieces around your flywheel that will keep moving no matter if you operate in different businesses or not, but it still will work.
So
what's your next one? Talk to me.
A question that was put up here in the chat to me, it said, could you talk more about growth on the flywheel?
So in this case here, growth, as I think we alluded to in the beginning, but it's okay. As we thought about our customers, we figured out we'll pick 3 fundamental things that will always be a part of their need. Well, let me take a step back for 2 seconds. Let's elaborate on what you mean by growth, because I can tell you how it's going to work in the process flow, which is saying lower prices equals more people coming to your website to buy your products, which allows you to therefore get more selection of product and options to offer to your people, which then allows you to also get them to your people because they're going to want them quickly. And then it starts all over again because then they're going to buy something else because they trust the process that is going to work and it's going to get to them. But when you said growth, let me make sure I understand, what do you mean by growth? Can you elaborate, whoever that may be? Don't be afraid.
Or you can take yourself off of mute. Feel free to do that if you'd like to speak. Yeah,
we're just one happy family tonight. I'm about to take this jacket off in a minute, but I want to maintain, so we can just really talk. I want to make sure I'm providing information, but also you feel comfortable to ask anything.
Growth meaning, is that seed money or something else?
Oh, well, in this case here, growth here is the revenue, because as you do your lower profits, as you do lower your prices, you make more capital because people are coming to buy more product. And what we do, and I know this is a little bit different for smaller businesses. I mean, we reinvest a certain percentage back into our company. It may not be as easy when you're first starting out. I get that part. And let me talk on that for a little bit, for 2 seconds. Like, as I think about it, we're talking about we reinvest a lot of our money back into our company because we're trying new innovation things all the time. We're trying new stuff. And a lot of the stuff fails. I don't know how many of y'all heard of the Fire phone. We spend so much money on that and ain't nobody buy it. But when I think about growth, it's like we look at how we're putting a certain percentage back and we're comfortable doing that back into our business to make sure that at all times we're being innovative and we're thinking about what does the customer want next. And if you go back to our leadership principles, I'm going to pull out something else. In the beginning, we're still frugal as a company. People say, oh, you get all these benefits from Amazon. Let's be blunt. I get 1 or 2 benefits and I can I won't say what they are, but they're from a business perspective. But it's not like what I think people think, like we're getting all these gifts and stuff from the company. Amazon, when we first started, and I say we, but when it first started, I remember the story, and I think I told this to somebody earlier. Someone was throwing out a door. And Jeff was like, no. And then we were like, why not? And somebody was like, why not? Someone on the team actually at that small beginning stages actually took the door and put 4 legs on it. And it became a desk for one of the new employees. And why I smile and think about that a little bit is because to this day, we still have door desks in our offices. Like our whole company is door desk. And they're not a door now. They're just but they're the same size as a door with just 4 legs on it. Simple, frugality. Because he's like, why are we going to spend money on these fancy desks and we could be putting that same percentage back into the business about to build something different for the customer. Then mind you, we have two types of desks now. Now we have the one because of ergonomics, where it rises up and down. But I would probably say the majority of the whole company sit with door desk if you're in an office. And it's not pretty, it's just a desk. And I think that's where he kind of helps us to focus on what's really important. Is this material stuff? Is all the gifts you're getting, which you're not really getting gifts? Or is it the fact that you're putting something back into the process to build something next, new and exciting for the customer that they may need next?
Well, we have a question for you.
About the pharmacist and RX?
Yep, who's filling the prescriptions?
That is a question I have to get back to you on. I actually, in my mind, I know who the president of that division is, but I don't have all the process stuff in there just yet. So I can actually get back to you if that's okay. Renee. I know that's Renee because I see RH. Yeah, I don't want to speak too much down into the business that I don't know because I know that's something fairly new over the last year or so. Maybe 2 years, I wouldn't say. Any other questions? All right. I understand the lower price is the key of Amazon's success. Yep. But how small business can lower the price or service a product when they do not have the capital or the tools to do so? So that's where, again, that's a fair question. That's a realistic question. Now I'm taking off my jacket because you're making me sweat. As I think about in your beginning stages, and this is something I was talking to, we're going to probably provide to you all later. I think about there's some ways to set yourself up financially with the right tools to kind of prepare yourself for growth. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy in the beginning. I know because I started my own company and it didn't work for the first 4 years. Let me do it this way. I had a meeting. Okay, so I'll be fair. Amazon has a startup business, which we help startups start up. I don't know who's startup versus small business on this call, but I had a conversation literally right before we started with the startup team. And I was like, are there some tools from marketing, finance, business model, supply chain? Are there some tools out there that we could probably provide? And I'm waiting for confirmation that we can kind of share with you all from a sense of, as you look at your business from these different angles, because you're not Amazon now. You're in a very early phase, or some of you all may be in a very early phase of your process. So how do we make sure we give you, I'm doing a startup. Hey, Nina. So part of me saying, how do we help you? This is the type of stuff that we come into the community anyway and do. Part of me saying now, I said I was going to follow up with them after this call, get an understanding of how many startups versus small businesses and stuff online, and see if I can connect internally to the right teams and get some of those tools. Can't promise a lot of it, but maybe there's a way for me to help you all with some of the stuff that we already do for our startups and local businesses. So I understand, again, the low price piece. Maybe that's the information I can kind of pull out from the financial tools that are available to help you think through how do you find the balance between the product and the price. I have some other ideas in my own head, but they're personal. I wouldn't say that from an Amazon perspective. I wouldn't wear the Amazon head and say that, but I'm really nervous about trying RX from Mystery Fulfillment. Daisy has my contact information. Thank you, Renee. Okay. Yeah, I'm not saying it's mystery. If you think about the same logistics price or process we put in place for retail and anything else, the mindset for around how that we do logistics well. So I'm pretty comfortable there's a logistics process, how we interact with the pharmacists and so forth. I just don't know it, so I can't speak on it fully. But I'm pretty comfortable that we would have had that process approved before we even launched the business. But again, I promise I will do a quick follow-up. I could Google now, but I don't want to be rude as we're in the middle of the meeting. So can I ask a question, Jimmy?
Sure.
Sorry, are these questions saved in the Zoom chat as we go through, like when we disconnect, or should I be writing some of this down?
I'll have them. I'll be able to forward them to you.
Perfect, because I want to be able to get back as promised.
Yeah. And then anything you find from a resource perspective that you share, we have everyone's email address who's registered for tonight's webinar, so we can share that with them as well.
Okay, good, cool. I actually like this. This is good stuff. All right, I'm gonna ask a couple more. I think we have 1 or 2 more slides, and then I want to open up because I really do want to hear some of these other questions. Amazon Alexa becomes leading digital assistant voice platform across a wide range of applications. Well, we kind of know that's already true because it's the same tool and is across different avenues. So would this be price, availability, selection? I'm waiting for the answer, and I'm reading the questions so I can prepare for that as well. Options. So when you think about
answer,
sorry, go.
let's get the answer, and then we'll go to that question.
Yeah. I agree. It's giving folks the option to figure out how they want to order from us. And I think, again, when we think about our business, we're not thinking about only the selection of the products that you have access to, but we think about the selection of how you get to us. We think through how do we give you a quicker way to get to us, and think through all the ways that could happen. And I'm not saying everything happens right the first time, but we experiment and are open to think through, well, how does in this case for us, customer, because that's our core, how can our customer reach us? And how do we make sure they can reach us with ease, whether it be through phone, whether it be through that little cylinder thing on the phone, cylinder called Echo or Alexa's, whether it be through the computer. We think through all of that, and we try different avenues. And those that win are actually what you're currently using today. All right. So I'm gonna go back to that question. What Amazon looks for small businesses to do? Contract with small business services and products. What are the requirements and how is the process? Okay, easy because I already talked to somebody about that. And so I don't want to take the time here, but let me promise that I'll give that link to you, because there are a couple of different groups that handles that information. I actually literally was going to attach it, but I realized I want to wait till if that question came up. We do have a process to kind of work with small businesses. And there's a link that also helps link small businesses and work you through. It's called Activate. I just got the list 20 minutes ago for the meeting, where we take folks who even want to leverage our technology, whether it be on AWS and bring your skills up to speed with your business. We work with you on that avenue as well. So there is a link and a contact for that. So I'll make sure I add that and provide that. Yep, got you, Renee. We'll give everything to everyone. As long as we got these questions down, I'll make sure I follow up, I promise. All right. Got you, Kathleen. All right. Interesting one that just popped up. I don't think this is for me. It does fall into a flywheel, but I'm just going to throw this out here. As I think about, I'm saying this about Amazon, but I'm also thinking about my own business, because I have an event planning company, interior design company as well. I've been doing it for like 9 years. But I realized it was my dream, not anybody else in the family's dream. So if anything happens, who gets the business? Who wants the business? Those are questions I'm actually processing this weekend, because I need to think through that. And think about that as well. This is leadership succession allows Jeff to step back from CEO as chair to make more history. What I realized is, that's true. Jeff has 22 senior vice presidents, 22 leaders sitting up. If I think about the hierarchy, there are 22 of them. Out of the 22, I think there are 3 that if something happened to him tomorrow, either he decides to retire or something happens, they each can step up and lead the company, because they each bring something different to the table. One is very great with tech, so I wouldn't be surprised if AWS is in his hands if anything happens to Jeff, because he will grow that business like crazy. One is very great with marketing. So as I think about his side of the fence, the whole retail side of the business, which we're known for, he has so many other ideas that he could probably push off and be successful with. And the third one, I'm still figuring him out, but that's just personal. But the third one, I think, he brings it as well. So I think as I think about succession planning, this is something I also challenge you all to I think about it. Jeff has already thought about it. He has his plan in play, but we just don't officially know. But I'm guessing at who his 3 people would be that would take over. And I would challenge you also to think about your businesses as what would you do? My dad wanted me to take over his business, and I had no desire to be in the meat cutting business. So unfortunately, it went with him, because my brother and I chose to do different things. And as you set up your businesses, I challenge you to think through that as well. Do you mind if it continues? If you want it to continue, good. Then how's that plan look for you? And that's not something I'm saying from Amazon I can help you with officially. Not officially. That's not something I'm saying I think we have in our startup at the check. But that's something I challenge everyone to think about too. How does your business grow after you? With you, after you, for you? All that good stuff. Hopefully that's a fair question. Because I don't see, hopefully that's a fair question. All right. I think that's the last one, right?
It is, yes.
So, but that's not the last question, because I feel like there's a lot more questions out there. So let's open up and talk for a moment. What else is out there that people have questions on or are curious about? I feel like we're getting a few folks, and that's great. I'm actually opening up. There's everybody. I'm seeing a lot of people now. And I'm seeing some windows and I'm seeing some trees. So, hey, Kim, I don't know you, but hey. So talk to me. What's going on? I am curious. Miss Daisy? Okay, there's a question because I'm really curious about the businesses that are on this call. Amazon has access to capital markets. Yep. They can sell bonds and issue stock to raise vast sums of money to support their flywheel model. Yep. Through experimentation and innovation. Yep. Trying new things. How could a small minority-owned business that does not have that kind of access to capital still use the flywheel model to grow and expand your business? Is this even possible? Please give some specific examples. Now you're going to put me on the hot seat. Jimmy, I'm coming for you after this, brother. Okay, I can only go, I'm going to pull out some, again, the tools again, but I kind of think about my own business. So again, I find myself in a small business situation where I work for a company, yeah, but that company can let me go tomorrow. You see how the industry's going. So I've done some savings, not a lot. And what I did was I actually put my savings in the stock market myself and have done well in a couple different areas. That's personal though. And then I take that and I put that into the business. I take out a certain percentage per year and I put that back into my business based upon the advice so I don't get certain tax hits. But let's be honest, I'm not putting thousands of dollars in my business. I don't have that. Personally, I'm operating with a small number. So how do you do this? I may have to get my financial person to kind of talk to y'all and get some notes from that one as well. Because I'm leveraging the model he gave me. I understand my thing is, I know what my core business is and I know what my flywheel is. So with me, mine is more so, if I can be honest, given a lot of selection, price as well. The event planning and doing design. I've also done a lot with partnerships. I lean in heavy on relationships, but I'm very cognizant of who I trust, if that makes sense. So a lot of my business models starting off has not been because I had a lot of money. A lot of it was pro bono. I mean, I'll be honest, I'll share personal. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. And a lot of my first projects were doing stuff with Kappa as an organization, whether it be hosting an event that was local, and I wouldn't charge the full price. I would partially charge, and therefore, but because of the quality, because of the credibility, I got more customers to come on board, which are more Kappas and other chapters to say, can you do this for me? So it kind of grew from that as well. But I can kind of find some more examples. How do you find a way to have someone help you give advice on your business plan? So there are multiple, I'm going to ask this through Hidu as well, but there are multiple avenues. I even just Googled tonight, there are multiple services that actually will review your business plan for you and help you think through it. I'm curious as to some of your models out there already. Are you all looking at your business plan from financials, customer service, or customer impact, supply chain? What's the angle that you're looking at from your business model from a whole? I challenge you to do that first to make sure you have an answer in each of those categories. But there are organizations that volunteer and do that. And I think I know two offhand, but I'll make sure I put them in the email for Jimmy.
And Vaughn, I'll jump in there as well. You know, I'll say this, that on behalf of Headco, we actually just formed a partnership with LivePlan, which is the online business software company that's kind of one of the leaders in that area. And so that walks you through a business plan, allows you to log in from anywhere, work on and complete your business plan. It has a extensive business plan software, a business plan library. So depending on your industry, there are probably several business plans that you can take a look at. A lot of times people haven't done it, haven't seen a business plan, so it gives you an opportunity to take a look at that, and also gives you tips on the different sections. When you talk about your marketing section, what's your advantage, all of those things, it gives you some tips in writing those sections. So we formed that partnership. You can link to that off of our website, headcoinc.com. And if you can't find it on the site, feel free to email me, Jimmy, JIMMYM @headcoinc.com, and I can send you the link. We've negotiated the price down to less than 50% of what they charge for an annual subscription. So normally I think their price is around $160 for a year. And we have a partnership for about $60 for you to go in and work on your business plan and complete it in a 6-month time period. So be sure to contact me or contact Daisy, and we'll make sure that we get you connected with that service so that you can make sure your business plan is what it needs to be.
Yeah, and as I think about it, I'm gonna be transparent. I put a copy of Amazon's business model in this presentation, but in the last minute I hid it because I didn't get PR permission to do that. But what I will do is kind of talk through high level what I can talk through. So when you think about your business plan, I have here a list of things. Your key partners, and whether they be your suppliers and manufacturers, your network of sellers, whoever writes or do your PR information, your hardware, whoever produces that. As I think about your key business partners, again, I'm reading some of this stuff because I can't really show it. So who are your key business partners for your business? If you're a dog walker, who are your key partners? Is it the store down the street where you get all supplies to kind of make sure you take care of the dog? Is it the dog washer who helps wash the dog? Is it your customer? Obviously your customer. So think through who your key business partners are and how do you form those different relationships with them. Some relationships, in my case, like I said, when I first started, was a barter and trade. Look, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. And some of my business came from the church when I first started. So obviously I'm not charging full prices, but I'm working with folks in the church and I just have to understand who my key business partners were and how are we individually going to get this done? Because it got to be done and we want to be successful. I think about your business as well from what are your key activities that you're doing. For Amazon, we think about engineering. Obviously, technology is a part of our key business. We think about how we design our websites. We think about our business development. How do we grow new businesses? How do we create content that draws people to us? How do we do search engines? We think through all of that because all of these factors impact the different parts of the business wheel. How do we do our contract negotiations? Because that helps us with our price, that helps us with our fixed assets. So key partners, key activities, and your key resources. Where are you getting your stuff from that's gonna help you get through the stuff? Your value proposition. I think we get stuck I said we, take that back. I've seen a lot of people get stuck in that space of understanding what value do you bring to the table. And I said that from the sense of, like my godmother passed, but she used to do baskets at church. That was a competitive advantage because everybody else in that church was doing great baskets. The other stuff I saw was like, no, that's not gonna work. But you had to understand what value do you bring. And I think sometimes we think, oh, my stuff is the best. Well, that's great that you think that, but you need to understand what makes you different. So the moment that you change something in your basket, your gift basket, will your customer walk away? Or will they go to the next one because it's a cheaper price or it has better selections? You just need to understand what do you bring to the table that is different from your competition and gives you the competitive advantage. For Amazon, again, it goes back to our flywheel. We will always give the lowest price. That's not going to change from day one to now. It's not going to change. We will always have the widest range of selections to pick from. We will always get the stuff to you as fast as we can. Case closed. What's yours? Customer relationship is another category. Is your stuff self-service? Is your stuff, does it require automated service? Like how do you interact with your customer on a basis that allows them to feel like they're being heard, they're being respected, and they're getting value for what they're paying you for? So understand your customer relationship. I think that's how we started off, that's how we got Prime membership. I think that grew out of having that flywheel where we were getting stuff. We had low prices, big selection, and we were getting stuff to folks quickly. Then we said, how do we do this better for the customer? Why don't we give you a discount? If you paid $99 or whatever that is for a year, you get access to all this stuff. That grew like crazy as soon as we put a package price on there and people realized they were getting the benefits from across the different areas. We realized that's what the customer wanted. The customer still wanted a bargain. So how do you distribute? That's another section. What's your distribution channels? When you think about your business model, think through that level of detail to understand how do you get your product to your customer and how does it get to you for you to get it to your customer. Understand your customer segments. So again, when I talk about customer segments, for Amazon, I think about we have AWS, we have Prime, we have different parts of our business, and different parts of the business require different things. So when you think about your different customers, whether it be the local church, whether it be the Boys and Girls School, because you're Boys and Girls Club, because you're selling stuff there, what do they need? And how do you need to show up differently for each of them? Think about that, because they don't want to feel like they're just another number in the process. Two more last things here. Deals with money. What's your cost structure? You hear us talk about the fixed assets. We're always improving our fixed assets. So we're always negotiating or trying to maximize how we max the equipment we have or the buildings we have. Things that aren't going to change is a fixed asset. So how do we do our cost structure, and how do we do our revenue streams? What are the different ways to make money? Because once you have that in place, you can kind of understand how you need to maximize that relationship as well.
So, hey, Vaughn, we have a few minutes left, and there is a question that got put up in the chat, and the question is in reference to price and understanding the prices of your services, and how do you go about setting your prices, and how can you be sure that you set prices to be competitive?
I wish I would know what the product was, because I think it may change based upon the service and the product that it is. Anna, can you tell me, or are you able to freely say what your let's make it general. We'll just talk in general. So in my case, I've leveraged a couple of different resources to kind of look through consulting services. Oh, okay. I came from consulting. Interesting. So that's a different model. That's a service versus a product. So product is a whole different animal. Service, we can kind of talk through that for a few seconds. I think as I look through, you know what? I'm gonna stop. Jimmy, I'm gonna put this I think I'm gonna get too long with it. I'm going to put the resources in that packet I'm going to send you. Okay. Because I think as you look at the services, and it goes back to your flywheel, and again, customer, in my case, is the base. What I find challenging in this environment, especially the current environment, when it's a disposable service that people aren't willing and or have the capital to pay. So that's a different model. So I'll put that into the packet if that's okay, Anna. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right. I feel like I've done a lot of talking. My throat is dry. But at the same time, I feel like I want to make sure that you all felt like you got something from this.
So I think we've got time for we can get one more question in there for you before we shut it down. So is there anybody that has one more question?
Because I promised to get back to you on the answers that where I think the Amazon services, again, I know we have different tools we can provide. I just want to get permission from the right leaders to see if I can provide access to those tools. So I'm going to figure that out in the morning. And then I'll get back with Jimmy tomorrow morning and talk tomorrow, and we'll flush this out. All right. Martin, you all right over there? You're looking serious at the camera.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are thankful that Vaughn took time out of his busy schedule to be with us tonight. We thank you. We hope that you've gotten something out of this that works for you, that helps you. So if you're interested in seeing this again, you can go to our website, headcoinc.com. Click on the news/media section up top on that tab, and you can click on the video gallery, and it'll be uploaded to the site over the next couple of days. All of our past, I think our past 5 or 6 webinars have been posted there as well. So if you want to go back and see them, once again, headcoinc.com. The tab is the news and media tab, and then you'll see the button for video gallery. So we thank you.
Can I say one more thing, if that's okay?
Sure.
I appreciate seeing small businesses, and that's from my heart. There's something that small businesses bring to the table that a big company finds hard to duplicate. So please do not get intimidated or worried about Amazon, but bring what you got to the table. That was not appropriate English, but it is what it is. Bring you to the table with your business and make it happen. I'm really excited to be here. And I think if there's more opportunities to talk to you all, I'm definitely going to reach out and try that. All right. I clap for y'all. So.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Have a great evening. Have a great rest of your week. And we'll be in touch with you with the next training opportunity. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Good night, Daisy. Good night, Kim.